Hello everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Today again, we will be discussing 10 more questions, and these questions are from the entire exam content outline. Some of you have joined for the first time, so I'll be showing you a question for 60 to 70 seconds. You will be answering me in the chat window directly to me, and then we will be discussing those different options. All right, so let me just share my screen and then we will start. So let's start question number 1. All right, Shadan, you have chosen option D.
Um, since it's an agile process, I'm just rereading so like that I could answer correctly, like explain. All right. So because it's a specialized iteration, so the hardening, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think it's D. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Lala, you have chosen option P.
I think pre-release iteration is the one that you actually make sure that the release is defective free. It focuses on the final product, make sure that it's fully developed and tested, and there's no bugs or anything like that.
All right, thank you. Surya, you have chosen option C. Could you please explain?
So because we are not doing any new functionality, we are stabilizing the code, so just refactoring helps us.
All right, thank you for explanation. So correct answer is option D. It's hardening iteration. So in a release, we start a release with the 0th iteration. So for example, in a release, if we have multiple iterations, so we have, let's suppose, iteration 1, iteration 2, 3, 4, and so on. So this first one is called 0th iteration, where we do some sort of preparations, right? And after 0th iteration, we have iteration 1 where we actually perform the work, iteration 2 we perform the work, and the last one is called hardening iteration. So this is the term that we used in Agile. So this is the iteration where we make sure that whatever we are delivering, it is solid, it is free from defect, and it is ready to be released. So this is called hardening iteration. So there is no concept like pre-release iteration or refactoring iteration. So we have 0th iteration and we have hardening iteration. However, 0th is the first one, hardening is the last one before you release. So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. All right, so during this iteration, no new functionality is added, right? So just you stabilize and make sure that previous code is robust enough. All right, next question. All right. Basma, you have chosen option C.
Yes, and that's because they have defensiveness, and that's a lack of confidence, lack of safety.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you're saying it's defensiveness. It means lack of confidence. That you're saying it's lack of safety. Okay.
Right.
What sort of safety, Basma?
Safety is not being punished, not being
Okay.
not being criticized.
All right. All right. Thank you. Robin, you have chosen option B.
I think what pointed me towards option B was the word effort. They didn't have effort, so the lack of effort meant that they didn't have motivation. So that's what made me choose B.
All right. Thank you for explanation. This could be the right answer. But Robin, lack of effort could be because of not having psychological safety. Does it make sense? So, for example, I'm not making an effort. Why? Because I'm afraid of negative consequences. I want to,
Right.
but there is a lack of effort at my side because I know if I make a move, there could be negative consequences, or maybe there is a fear of judgment. So maybe lack of effort is the right answer, or team motivation is the right answer, but lack of effort could be because of multiple reasons. One, there could be lack of motivation, or also there could be lack of psychological safety. Does it make sense, Robin?
Yes. I actually didn't go for that one because I think we had a similar question in one of the other evenings, which was psychological safety.
Yeah,
So
yes.
that's why.
I
Yeah.
just changed the scenario because also this is what I want you all to learn. Like with slight change in the scenario, the answer would be different, right? So last night, the question that we had, I think that was about fear of being judgment or something like that was written. So yes, that was psychological safety. All right, thank you. Okay, so Amanullah, you have chosen option C.
Uh, Thank you. In fact, I was thinking about two options, B and C. Since the feedback given by the team is kind of met in a defensive way, then I selected psychological safety. That might be the reason that the team members, they do not dare uh, to provide their initiative or do more efforts to share their own ideas. That's why I selected C, while I was in doubt with B as well, that I was thinking about that as well.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. John, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I thought it was option D, a growth mindset, because uh, I think that their lack of initiative and the fact that feedback is met with defensiveness is meaning that they're not, I guess, willing to grow, kind of like similar to servant leadership. And then I thought the first part about their performance, that they attribute their performance instead of their effort. It's like they're more psychologically just oriented towards I don't know, their performance over their effort. I don't know. I think I was going between C or D on this one.
All right, thank you for explanation. Correct answer is, so okay, if we read the statement, what's happening here? It says during a review, the PM observes that team members attribute their performance to inherent ability rather than effort or strategy, right? So there is a belief that whatever we do, it depends on our inherent ability rather than effort or strategy. Means making effort or having a strategy or doing things differently is useless, right? It's not fruitful. So this is the inherent belief. And based on this belief, whatever feedback is provided, that is often met with defensiveness, because feedback is regarding, okay, make some effort, make some changes, do things differently, but people believe that they can't do anything about who they are. So the problem is there is an inertia, right? So correct answer is option D, lack of growth mindset. They don't have a growth mindset, right? They don't believe that we can grow or we can improve ourselves with effort or with change in strategy. So this inertia means there is a lack of growth mindset. Why other options are incorrect? Servant leadership. So there is no indication in the question that says that there is lack of servant leadership, or there's another leadership style, or there is directive leadership, right? So since there is no information provided, we cannot assume it's servant leadership. Team motivation. Yes, team motivation could be the right answer, but it clearly says they believe that it's the inherent ability, whatever they do. So it's not the motivation, it's it's their mindset, it's their belief, what they think, right? Psychological safety. What is psychological safety? Psychological safety is a concept, for example, fear of being judged or fear of having negative consequences. So there is no such indication in the question, like there is a fear of judgment, or there would be fear of being punished or something like that. So a psychologically safe environment is an environment where one can be oneself without fear of being judged or without having fear of any punishment or negative consequences. So there is no indication that there is a fear or there is a judgment. So all three options are incorrect. Correct answer is option D. There is a lack of growth mindset. Okay, let's read the explanation. If you have any comment or a different opinion, feel free to write in the chat window or just unmute yourself and explain, right? That would be valuable for collective learning. All right, let's read the explanation. All right, I hope it is clear. Next question. All right, Carlos, you have chosen option C.
Yes, so option C, if you agree on the project scope with the customer, anything over or above that project scope should be negotiated separately. Otherwise, it would never end.
Okay, right. Thank you. Robin, you have chosen option B. What's wrong with option C, Robin?
I think that the difference is option C is getting the sign off at the start, and that could have been done, and then we got scope creep after that because there wasn't a proper change control mechanism in place.
Absolutely, that is correct. Even if you get a sign off from the customer, still you can have some change request, right? You can have change in scope. Robin, you want to say something? Please continue.
No, I think I didn't really answer the question there. why I chose option B was in the question, it appears that we've gone through the project. You know, if there was a proper change control mechanism that would control the increased costs as well. So that wouldn't be a problem. So we've actually ended up here with increased costs, which are a problem. So that would point towards not having a proper change control mechanism in place.
All right, absolutely. So yes, point number one is even if you get a sign off from the customer on the scope, still you can have change requests, right? So C can't be the right answer. Correct answer is option B, implement a change control mechanism. Why? The question says how we can avoid scope creep, right? Now, what is scope creep? Scope creep is any unauthorized or unapproved changes to product scope. Unauthorized or unapproved changes to product scope. So for example, you agree on something and then there is a change request without getting approval from the sponsor or relevant body, you incorporate that change. So when you incorporate that change, now this is called scope creep. An unauthorized, unapproved change to project scope is called project scope creep. How we can avoid the scope creep? By following the change control mechanism. If we follow the change control mechanism, all the changes would be approved or processed through a mechanism, right? And then there won't be any scope creep. Then whatever changes you would be making to your scope, those would be approved. Approved changes to project scope are not called scope creep. The question is not about like how you can avoid changing the scope, right? The question is about how you can avoid unapproved changes. So there's only one way to avoid unapproved changes, and that is implement a robust change control mechanism. If you have that, then all the changes will be approved. Basma, you want to say something?
Yes, my question is, don't you need to evaluate and identify what's happening before you implement a change?
All right. So question says, what could have been done to avoid this scope creep? So evaluate, identify reasons behind scope creep. That's a reactive action. In the statement, it asks about a proactive action, what you could have done. You understand? Means what could have done before to avoid this. So if we have a change control mechanism, we could have avoided this. But now if the question says what the PM should do now, then definitely evaluate and identify reasons behind scope creep. So reactive action is D, proactive action is B. So statement is about proactive action, that is option B, okay? That's really important. When you read the question, reading the last line is really, really important, because if it says choose the next option, choose the best choice, what should have been done, what should the PM do, if these things are written, answer would be entirely different, right? So please pay attention to the last line as well. Okay, let's read the explanation. So yes, this process ensures that all scope changes are properly evaluated, documented, and approved. Once they are approved means there won't be any scope creep. There would be scope expansion, change in scope, but that change would not be categorized as scope creep. Changing scope versus scope creep, those two are entirely different concepts, okay? Next question. All right. John, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, I think that a histogram is, from what I remember, like quantifying the number of times something would happen. I think either between that or a scatter plot. I think a scatter plot was more of having like two variables, like an X and Y trend line. So I think it's A. I'm not entirely sure why.
All right. Thank you. Jashri, you have chosen option B.
Yes, Amar. I went through the other three options, like histogram. I'm sure it's based on a chart prepared based on the resource availability, and the scatter plot is plotting the data on a graph. Is what I understand. Scatter plot, and fishbone diagram is diving deep into the five whys, understanding the reason to a particular effect. And B control chart, though I'm not that familiar, frankly. But I think of all the four, I can choose control chart as an option.
All right. Thank you. Mary, you have chosen option A.
Yes, I chose option A. I know what I can't pronounce it. Paretograph,
Yeah. Pareto,
which is in
yes.
order, and a histogram is not in order. So I felt like it was that because of control. Doesn't indicate any control, and there's no scatter to it. It's just that it's presenting column chart that graphically represents numericals. So it couldn't be C because C scattered plots are just dots, right? Fishbone diagrams are more like a cause and effect, I think. I might be wrong, but that's why I chose A.
All right.
By limit.
All right. Thank you for explanation. So correct answer is option A. It's a histogram. It says a team member is preparing a column chart or a bar chart, right? Column or bar chart that graphically represents numerical data, such as the number of times each process is non-compliant or number of defects, okay? Number of times each process is non-compliant or number of defects. So this type of chart is called histogram. Let me show you different types of graphs that we use in quality if I could show you. So just give me a second. Somewhere it would be here. Just a second, please. I don't know where we have that. Okay, yes. So this is control chart, right? Control chart has upper control limit, right? And it has lower control limit. And we take samples and we plot those samples. So for example, if the mean value of something should be 30 millimeter, we take a sample, we measure it and we plot it here. So let's suppose first sample is here, second is here, third is here, fourth, fifth. So we want to see if there is any sample that is out of limit. So you can see this red dot, this is out of control process. So we want to see process outcome by plotting different samples on a control chart. So there is no column, it's not a bar chart, right? Yes, it shows number of times the process is non-compliant, but in addition to that, it also shows number of time a process is compliant, right? So control chart can't be the right answer. Fishbone diagram, it's a root cause analysis, cause and effect diagram. So you write the problem here, and then you investigate it by finding the root causes. So what's the root cause behind poor quality? It could be because of people, could be because of equipment. So you identify root causes. So it's not a bar chart. It's not a column chart. So this can't be the right answer. Okay, if we see scatter plot. So this is scatter plot. Scatter plot is developed to substantiate relationship between two variables through mathematical or numerical numbers. So you have a variable X, you have a variable Y. dependent variable and independent variable. And you plot it. Remember, if points on a scattered plot are closer to each other, it indicates a strong relationship. As you can see in case of red dots, they are linear, it indicates strong relationship. If points are scattered all over, as in case of green dots, it indicates weak relationship. So to mathematically substantiate relationship between two variables, we plot scatter plot, right? So again, it's not a column chart, it's not a bar chart, it doesn't talk about number of times a process is non-compliant, so this can't be the right answer, okay? Histograms. Now this is histogram. So histogram, number one, it's a column chart, right? Or it's a bar chart. And along the y-axis, we have number of defects. Along the x-axis, we have type of defects, right? So this graph tells us what is the frequency of type A defect. So let's suppose it is 20, this is 40, this is 10, 15, and 5. So we can visually or graphically see number of or frequency of defects or frequency or number of times a process is non-compliant. So we can see type A defect is occurred 20 times, type B is the most recurrent defect, then type D, then type C, then type E. So we can see where we should focus on to handle the defects. So correct answer is histogram. Just an additional information, a histogram in a descending order is called Pareto chart, where it is also based on Pareto principle, that is 80-20 rules, means 80% of the impact is because of 20% of defects or causes. So if you handle this, then you'll be able to get rid of 80% of impact. Means if you handle A, most of the problem would be solved, right? So this is Pareto chart. I hope it is clear. So correct answer is histogram.
One question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Pareto chart also helps in RCA? Because we know the 80% of the problem is occurring from the 20% of the things, right? So why I'm asking is sometimes the questions will be kind of tricky, which one, because even Pareto chart helps us in within the RCA, right?
I couldn't understand your question, Suhas.
Yeah, what I was saying is basically, Pareto chart, will it help in understanding the RCA, root cause analysis? Because I know the 20% of the problem is occurring, or 80% of the problem is occurring by the 20% of uh, something, right? Like in this case, it is A. So we will know that it is happening because of this. So if that will also help in doing the RCA, root cause analysis.
So yes, you can say that, but actually it's more like prioritizing defects, right? So you have different type of defects. So rather than identification, it's more like prioritization. So you take samples and you plot the frequency to see which defects are recurrent so that you focus on those. So for example, if type A defect is occurring 100 times and type E defect is occurring 3 times, it means there is no point of focusing on type E. You should focus on point A. So determine where you should focus, you develop Pareto chart. So it's more like prioritization of defects. That's really important for if you want to handle the problem. All right, so let's go back. Okay, so correct answer is option A, that is histogram. Next, let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right. Vivek, you have chosen option C.
Yes, Amar. So I was like going through the options. Servant leadership will not help here because the team is like not agreeing, and they're divided into the groups as mentioned in the question. So servant leadership will not help. And I'm not sure affiliative leadership, how it works, and situational leadership also. So directive leadership is like where we can, if there is no decision is being made by the teams due to such scenarios, project manager can direct the team, and he can come to the final decision or final judgment. So that's why I selected option C.
All right, thank you. Maddie, you have chosen option D.
I guess I chose D because of a situational leadership. I wasn't too sure. Elimination. I don't really know this difference. Only thing I know is servant leadership, which is like a scrum master. It reminds me of a scrum master, servant leadership. And I just figured situational leadership. I didn't really have a real reason to picking it, but everything else didn't make sense.
All right, thank you for explanation. John, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I think I kind of went the route of process elimination from what I understand from servant leadership. For directive leadership, I think that one's more authoritarian, making decisions regardless of what the group thinks. And then what I think situational leadership refers to is kind of like a hybrid approach based on the situation. So I think affiliative, leaning towards the group preferences over the merit of what was actually being discussed kind of made more sense. But I don't really know the actual definition of affiliative leadership.
All right, thank you. Robin, you have chosen option A.
Yes, I was very divided here, but what made me choose option A was that the group was preferring the methods, the merits of the issue. Prioritizing their preferences over the merits of the issue. And I felt that maybe support needed to be provided in that situation by leadership to put them on the right course.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So let's see what's happening here. It says your team is divided into groups. So there is a division, number one, right? So there is lack of cohesiveness, lack of team bonding, right? That's the problem in this statement. And as a result of that, each time a decision is made, individuals prioritize their group preference over the merits of the issue. And in the last session, we discussed when we have more than one correct option, we look for the option that addresses root cause of the problem. Okay. So here, what's the root cause? Root cause is division. Team is divided. So how we can address the root cause or this division problem? Servant leadership is self-organization. Let the team decide how to handle that. So this is self-organization, like let the team do. So they are already divided and they go with their group preferences. So self-organization would not help. You have to intervene here, okay? Affiliative leadership, this is also called interactional leadership. This is a leadership style that focuses on affiliation and relationships or team bonding. A leadership style where focus is on team building, team bonding through affiliations and interactions, that is called affiliative leadership style. This directly addresses the problem which is being discussed in the statement, team division. So the solution to team division is affiliation, team bonding, and relationship building at the workplace. Directive leadership, like directing your team members, like how you would be directing, like you would be saying, okay, don't follow your group preferences or what, or you will be making decision on behalf of team. So directive would not help in this situation. We use directive leadership style when you have an emergency situation, when there is not enough time to incorporate opinion of all the team members. So you take directive leadership style to make decision on behalf of team. Situational leadership style, it's the leadership style that you change your leadership style according to the demands of the situation. It is also called adaptive leadership style. So correct answer is affiliative leadership style, that is focusing on team bonding, team building, team relations to make sure that there shouldn't be any sort of division among team members, right? So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, so to have harmony and emotional bonds, you need to focus on affiliations. Next question. All right, so Carlos, you have chosen option A.
Yeah, just because I've seen the anonymous surveys open up the underlying causes that nobody wants to say because it's anonymous and people will actually not fear to say what it is, and you can get some results for that. That's what I've seen. Maybe that's wrong with.
All right, thank you. Lala, you have chosen option C.
I use the one of the PMIs, and that you have to have a face-to-face meetings with the team members to understand what is the cause of the problem, rather than doing a vague survey or taking them to a corporate dinner, informal discussion. I mean, how everybody would kind of nobody feels comfortable like speaking if you go like an informal discussion of in a dinner, corporate dinner. Check the result of recent performance appraisal. So I don't know how that is going to give you their performance, how it's going to help you to understand the cause. So if we have a face-to-face meeting, we can actually, understand what is the root cause of the problem actually.
Absolutely, that is correct. So correct answer is option C, have a face-to-face meeting with individual team members. Why? As Lala mentioned, the best form of communication is face-to-face and direct communication. If you want to understand the underlying reasons or root causes, have direct discussion with the team members. So rather than going for surveys or other informal ways, have direct communication and try to understand the reasons behind lack of motivation. Okay. So correct answer is option C. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. All right, so as it says, anonymous surveys, they are informative. However, they lack the depth to understand the reasons or why behind the potential demotivation or dissatisfaction. All right, next question. All right, Vivek, you have chosen option 3.
Yes. So I was kind of eliminating the options. So option 2 and option 4 are related to issue and change. So nothing has been started. It's just like the initial phase of the project where we identified there is no incompatible tool. So before doing any issue or change doc, that's why like option 2 and 4 we removed, and the next register can be updated, but the first like major responsibility of project managers to find the alternate tool, and that's why they selected option 3.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Mary, you have chosen option 1. You're on mute, Mary.
Yes, I'm sorry. After reading it, I feel like for some reason it's probably 2 instead of 1, but it's a risk, but it's not a risk. It's an update to the issue log because it's it's not. For some reason, I'm going for 2 right now because with the existing IT infrastructure. So I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's a risk. I think it's an issue.
All right. Yes, that is correct. It's an issue. It's a situation that is currently there, right? So it can't be a risk.
Right.
Risk is any uncertain future situation or event. So it's not future, or it's no more uncertain. It's certain, it's there. It has already happened, or you got to know about that. So it can't be risk. So risk register can't be the option. Identify an alternative tool or issue a change request. These are actions. So before you take the action, the very first thing that you do whenever there is an issue, you update the issue log. First, you will be documenting the issue, then you will be doing the analysis and evaluation. So this is the process. Whenever you have an issue, the very first thing that you do, you update the issue log. Once you update, then you do the evaluation and you come up with an alternative. Then you will be raising a change request. So 2, 3, 4, that would be the sequence. Update the issue log, find an alternative, then issue a change request, right? So 2, 3, 4 would be the order. So the question says, what would be the first action? That's why I said reading the last line is really, really important. So first action is update the issue log. Once you update the issue log, then you will be doing the analysis. And after the analysis, you will come up with a different option or an alternative. And then to incorporate that alternative, you will be raising a change request. All right, let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Lala, you have chosen option B.
So he has a conflict that he has to participate to another training, and so in order to solve this problem, if we speak with the functional manager to see if the training can be scheduled or adjusted, I think that kind of solves the issue rather than actually I cross it out the D because you don't go to a PMO office and then seek for a temporary replacement. You can just replace one of your team members. That's one of the PMIs on your list that you put it on your lessons learned, that one of the things that you can just replace our teammates. So I cross it out. And then C, encourage and motivate the team member to prioritize design review. Maybe his training is important as well, so we don't know about it. That I cross it out C as well. So I was between A and B, and I think the B solves the issue here if I speak with the functional manager and then see if the training can be rescheduled so he can attend the design review.
All right. Thank you, Laila. Nikki, you have chosen option B. Nikki, you have chosen option B. You're on mute.
Yes, I was kind of thinking like Layla, it would be good to encourage them to attend design sessions, but just because he's got some other training doesn't mean he's not motivated to attend. It just, he has a conflict, a scheduling conflict. So I think that one is we can, eliminate that one. Going to have him self-organize, work on their own. Again, that might be something good for someone who's very motivated, but that's not really the point, because you need them to be there to make sure if other changes are happening and things going on at the session. So that would be important. And we just talked about that face-to-face is probably the best way to deal with issues. So if you can go to the manager and they can find a way to adjust the schedule, then they can attend the meetings, and that might be the best solution.
All right, absolutely. So correct answer is option B. Discuss the situation with the functional manager to see if the training schedule can be adjusted. And also, if we read the statement, it says during the execution of a project, one of the team leads, number one, they are the team leads. They inform the PM that they cannot participate in all the critical design review sessions, right? So once these design review sessions are critical, second, they are team leads, so their participation is really important. And replacement is the last resort. When nothing is working, then you can go with the replacement. Replacement is not the first option, okay? First, we try to see what's the priority of actions and can we do something? Can we adjust our plans? So self-organization, as Nikki mentioned, this won't be a solution here because there is no indication like team members are not self-organized or they are not motivated. And I like the explanation regarding C, encouragement and motivation, because there is no indication that says that team members are not motivated. There is a schedule conflict. So if there is a schedule conflict, you need to directly address that. And what's the best way to do that? Talk to the functional manager to see if the training schedule can be adjusted. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Carlos, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I think submitting a change request knowing that the impact's already there, it will impact everything. So I think submitting a change request would be the right thing.
All right, thank you. Mary, you have chosen option D. How option D would avoid future delays?
Yeah, well, when you ask that question, now I'm like, D does not make sense.
Maybe
Oh,
it would be,
man.
just try. Maybe it would be, just try.
How it would be, because I mean submit a change request, you're putting a change request to make the adjustments, and then it has to go through an approval process, and then it's approved and it's being changed. But my other thing too is that I'm trying to figure out, are we in a predictive or an agile scenario at this point?
It doesn't matter. So when you're confused, assume that it's a hybrid project when nothing is mentioned in the statement, okay?
I mean, we can't just go and update the scope of work. It has to be approved in order for you to update the scope of work. Add additional resource to the project. Again, that would still need to be approved. Like, you can't just add additional resource to the project. That's what I'm thinking. And review the risk management plan. It can be A, but
Okay, right. Thank you. You got some, some of the clues. Maybe your answer is correct as you have eliminated B and C. So thank you.
Right. Thanks.
All right. Lala, you have chosen option C.
Actually, I chose D first, and then I changed my answer. So I think in order to avoid the delays, this is similar, I feel like, to the question we had earlier regarding the scope creeps. So if we would submit a change request, that would avoid all the others. That would avoid actually the future delays.
I mean, raising a
but
change request, how it is relevant to future delays? That's the question.
How it relates to the future delays? I mean, if we find out that there's an added scope, right, we would update the scope of work and then submit a change request. Would that be the order? So I'm not sure, but I selected D first, and then right after I changed to C. I'm not sure. A and B is definitely not the answer. It would not do it. But I don't know which order comes first. Do we update the scope of work first, or do we submit the change request? That's the question right now.
All right, thank you. Nikki, you have chosen option D. How submitting a change request would avoid future delays?
So my thought here was submit the change request first, and then because we know it's coming, because he's already said after the investigation they've realized something important is missing and it will affect the timeline. So we already know there's some delays, but I guess we're talking more future delays because we know there will be some to add this in. So I think my thought was submit the change request first. Then once that's approved, we know we have to update the scope to include the thing that we missed. And then, like, I think for sure B is out because we definitely don't want to, that's not going to help. Adding additional resources isn't going to change delay. So that doesn't address the question, and the review the risk management plan doesn't address the question.
Again, the same question. Like, let's suppose you have submitted the change request, it is approved, missing scope is incorporated. How incorporating missing scope would avoid future delays? That's the question.
How? I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for trying. So, Has, you want to say something?
Yeah. When you submit a change request, you take care of all the aspects, right? For example, schedule, scope, as well as cost. So now we are actually, we have a scope addition. So we need to consider in all the factors. And by adding, we have to add additional resource, or maybe that will also include the cost and everything. So submitting change request is a total process where we consider everything to ensure that we deliver in time.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation, and that is correct. So what's happening here, you have, let's suppose, activity A, B, and C in your initial plan. So this is activity A, this is B, this is C. A, B, C. Now you got to know there's an activity here that is B dash that was missing, right? And that you identified. So how you can avoid future delays? If you incorporate B dash, then your schedule would be extended somewhere here. So how you can avoid this delay? You can avoid this delay by having more resources, right? And how you can have more resources? By raising a change request. When you raise a change request, you don't just incorporate that change, you take care of all the aspects. Like what would be the impact on schedule? What would be the impact on cost? Is there any adjustment needed in resources? So yes, you will be having more resources to minimize the delay. However, in order to have additional resources, you need to raise a change request. So correct answer is option B, submit a change request, because when you submit a change request, you can adjust your plan, you can adjust your schedule, you can adjust your resource allocation, right? So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. So explanation is exactly similar to what Suhas has explained. All right, next question. All right, Basma, you have chosen option B.
Okay, so right after you just knew that you have a new project and you understand that you have a skilled team, that you need a cohesive and skilled team for the project. But the first thing that you need to do is establish the project scope, and you need to set their objective before selecting the team. No.
All right, thank you. Mary, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I chose D to the question. Where is it? I chose D. Can't go back into the. I don't know. I just can't see the screen. I can't see the screen. Come on. Why can't I see the screen? The question. I can't
It's
see.
okay. It's okay. Take your time, and you can explain it later when you have when you see the screen. Okay.
All right. Thank you. I can't see the screen.
Okay. Lala, you have chosen option D.
So question is saying that the manager has a green light, that it's very critical for him to choose, cohesive and skilled team for the project success. So in order to do that, what is the next thing to do? So you have to select team members based on their expertise and potential. That's gonna, I feel like that's the question is asking. You just have to pick the right people, right, for your project. So the next thing would be selecting the team members, making sure that they're skilled and they're going to be contributing to this project success based on their skills.
All right, thank you.
I mean,
go ahead.
Also conduct, and then you would kind of do a kickoff meeting and schedule. So define performance standard, provide clear directions. Who you're going to give the directions to? So the A doesn't make sense, right? Define performance standards and provide clear directions. So you don't even have a team yet. Who would you give the directions to? establish a project scope and set specific team objectives. So I would actually do that after I select my team members, right? So that's what I thought.
All right, thank you. Anton, you have chosen option D.
Okay, yeah, I sort of had the same logic as Leila, but slightly different. So I went by elimination. And for option A, define performance standard and provide clear direction. Again, like who are you gonna provide the direction if you have no team? Then B, establishing project scope and set specific team objectives. Okay, so we already have a project manager that tells us the project is already defined. So again, there is no need for B. C, conduct initial kickoff meetings and schedule regular weekly meetings. So weekly meetings, that actually what eliminated my selection. Why they have to be weekly meetings? Maybe they need bi-weekly meetings. Maybe they need just, maybe it's a self-organized team that no meetings required. So by having eliminated all the above, I have chosen option D.
All right, absolutely. So correct answer is option B. Option D, select team members based on their expertise and potential. Why? If you recall, we discussed the entire course in 6 lessons. The first was business environment, and then starting the project. And in starting the project, we talk about team formation. So initial team is formed before you actually define the overall scope. So scope definition would come later when you have initial team. They would work together to come up with the scope, right? So to have initial team, you need to look for expertise and whatever potential they have relevant to the project. So correct answer is option D in terms of order, because it says what should the PM do next. So first is you will have initial team, and after that you will be going for detailed scope definition. All right, let's read the explanation. All right, everybody. So we're done with today's session. Just put your score in the chat window. What's your score in today's mock test? 70%, 70% without preparation, 70%, 50%, 70, 50%, 50%, 30%, 70%. Okay. So 30%, most of you have improved your score, and I'm happy that this is a true representation of your score in the real exam, okay? Whatever your score is in this mock test, that is your, this is what you will be getting in the real exam. But nothing to be worried. You can contact me if your score is less than 50%. You can contact me and we can discuss. Maybe we can find a workaround, or we can find a way to improve the score, because 30% means, or 40% means, there's a lack of some basic understanding about these concepts. It doesn't mean like it's something wrong, because these are different concepts and it's combination of theoretical concepts and practical implications. So it's challenging, but nothing to be worried. Almost half of you have more than 70%, half of you have less than 70%. I can see 20% as well. 30%, 40%. So yes. So please go through the content. These are high quality questions. We spend a lot of time in developing these questions, and they are actually almost similar to the real exam. So go through the content. That would be really helpful to you. Have class notes, review those. You have class presentation. The best source, I would say, is class presentations that you have. Make a routine and spend at least 30 minutes daily to review those presentations. That would be helpful for you. All right, so I hope you will be improving. And again, this is not an assessment. This is a learning process. Even if you're getting 20%, still you would be learning 10 new concepts every day, right? So it's a learning process. I hope this would be helpful to you and you would be able to pass the exam. All right, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow with an interesting lesson. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.